Welcome to the ukulele build part 6, the final video. In this video we will glue on the bridge and we will begin the process of setting up the ukulele, and then at the end you'll get to see a little bit of what it sounds like. Okay, we have 6 coats of true oil. Finish is looking pretty good. It's time to glue on the bridge. So what I want to do is I want to cut along the edge of the tape to break any finish that may have connected the tape to the body. Do this very carefully. You don't want to leave a scratch mark. Should leave you with a nice little indentation in the finish that the bridge just kind of drops into. So that's cool. We're going to need to clamp this when we glue it, so let me get some clamps. I've done a test fit. I don't have any clamps that'll fit through the hole and reach the bridge. So I'm going to have to be very careful and clamp the outside. I'm going to use these because I can really keep the pressure low. The other thing I'm going to want to do is put some more painter's tape around where the bridge is going to go, so if there's any squeeze out, we get it. Okay, we're ready to do the glue up. So I've got my tight bond. So we're going to use regular tight bond for this. So I'm going to put the glue into the opening where the bridge goes. The other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to put a few grains of salt in the glue. You don't want a lot, just a little bit. And what this will do is this will help to keep it from sliding while you clamp it up. If I press down, just making sure that it's not overlapping the tape anywhere, because that would not be good. Alright, wait for that to dry, then we can finish assembling. Alright, the glue is dry. We're going to take the clamps off. Take the tape off. There we go. Bridge is glued on. No squeeze out. We're looking good. Ready to install the tuners, install the nut, install the bridge piece, and then we will be able to set up the ukulele and give it a try. Okay, the tuners are specific to the side they go on, so you want to make sure that the screw hole is towards the body of the ukulele. Each tuner comes with a bushing and a nut to tighten it down with. And each one should have a little tiny screw. So what we're going to do is we're going to put the bushings and the nuts on. We're going to tighten them down a bit, line the tuners up, and then put the screws in. The screw is just a final thing to hold it in place. So once they're lined up, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and drill a hole. You want to be very careful doing this. You do not want to come through. You also don't want to break off the drill bit. Then we're going to take our screws and install them. One thing to make sure of is that you use the right size screwdriver. These particular screws use a number 0 Phillips. And you also want to put a little bit of wax on the tip of the screw. I have a block of beeswax that I use just for such things. What it does is it just lubricates the screw a little bit while you drive it in. So set the screw into the pilot hole. Don't want to over tighten the screw, you just want it to be snug. This is just to keep the tuner from spinning. The nut on the front actually holds the tuner on. go. Screws are installed. Everything's tightened down. Tuners all work. Alright, we're ready to string it up. Alright, so we're going to put on the two outer strings, and this is how we're going to check the saddle height and the nut height. So there are two thin strings and two thick strings. The two thick strings actually go in the middle on a ukulele. And the way you put it on is you put it through from the inside to the outside, and then you wrap the end of the string around itself about 3 times. We got plenty of strings, so wrap around. Once you get it wrapped around, you just pull it tight both directions. Alright, come up here, come around the tuner. I'm going to go through the hole in the tuner. You do want to leave yourself some slack to go around, and what I usually do is I'll wrap it once around, put the nut in place, and then I'll tighten the string up. The string tension should hold the nut while we do our adjustments. Do the same thing with the other string, and then we'll set it up. Okay, so we're looking at the height of the strings off at the nut end and down the fretboard. Now it's a little high, the action's a little bit high, and this front one, you can push the string down onto the fret, but the problem is if this is too high, you're going to make the string go sharp, so you'll never play in tune. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sand a little bit off the bottom of that nut to bring it down. We're going to do this end first, get it down closer, and then we're going to look at the saddle. Saddle is probably going to have to come down, but maybe not that much. To evenly take material off the saddle, I've got a granite plate, I've got the nut bottom, hold it flat down, I'm going to rub it on the 80 grit sandpaper. You don't want to take too much off, so you want to go a little at a time. Then we're going to put it back in place and see what happens. So put it back on the uke. Put the strings back in place and take a look at it. Still too high, so we've got to come down a little bit more. Another way to adjust this is to make the slots deeper, but this nut is actually very nicely cut with a good depth for the strings. It'll hold the strings but not bury them, which is what you want. So if I were to cut the slots deeper, I'd have to reshape the top of the nut. down some more. Keep the sandpaper clean so it'll cut better. We're keeping it perfectly flat on the granite stone. And we'll keep going back and forth until we got a decent height. Maybe a little bit high, because when we bring the saddle down, it's going to lower it as well. The nut is looking good, so we're going to do the same thing with the saddle. If we can get the saddle out. Going to be the same idea with the saddle. We're going to put it on the sandpaper. Make sure you hold it totally vertical. And sand some off the bottom. Put it back in, see how we did. I think that this is actually going to be pretty good. Probably a little more, we'll keep going. Alright, so once we have it set and action feels pretty good, we're going to loosen these strings up quite a bit. We want to pull them to the sides because we got to glue the nut on. We don't want to glue the strings. So grab a glove. To do this, I'm going to use a medium super glue, cyanoacrylate glue. I'm going to put a little bit on the bottom of the nut and a little bit on the front, so we're going to glue it to the neck and to the fingerboard. going to let that dry, and then we're going to oil the fingerboard before we put all the strings on. Alright, so I'm just using, this is just a lemon oil. I apply it with the applicator, and then we'll wipe it in. This is the first time, this is a walnut fingerboard, and it's the first time it's getting oil, so it's going to be pretty much absorbing. Wipe it down, get the oil off the frets, make sure it gets into all areas. You should oil your fingerboard every time you change your strings. Looking pretty good. So now we can put the other two strings on and tune it up. It is all strung up, trimmed off the ends to make it neat, and now we'll just get it tuned up and give it a shot. Well, the ukulele is built. I think it's got a pretty nice sound to it. I think it's got a nice bright tone. I'm not the best ukulele player in the world. I'm not even a passable ukulele player. But I think someone who really knows what they could do could make this sound really nice. Thank you for watching, and please, if you like what you see, click like and subscribe. Got more videos coming for different projects soon.